I feel like Glamnetic is my identity, and I represent that to the world, and I want to spread the love of Glamnetic. We're very much of the notion like fail fast and figure it out and make sure that we don't do it again. My goal is to have it indistinguishable from the real life inspo. Like if someone had it done at the salon and they put it next to our nail, like I want it to be either the same or better.
I feel like it's important for people to know, whatever they are going through.
Yeah.
That they can get out of it and their lives can turn around. Ann McFerren, founder of Glamnetic, Forbes 30 under 30, Inc.'s top. I don't even know. I don't even know all. I don't even know all of the lists you've been on. I just know you're on a lot of lists. But you're a very successful founder in beauty.
Thank
Your
you.
first year, you did 50 million in sales. You started with magnetic lashes, which I am wearing, and then now you have nails and a ton of other stuff.
Yeah.
Let's start with your origin story. How you started Glamnetic, and then after that, I want to go into your background because I feel like that's really crucial too.
So do you want me to give like the whole overview of like how Glamnetic started, or just maybe take it from the beginning?
Take it from the beginning.
Okay. Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me, Nicole. I love you.
I love you too.
Nicole's been a longtime friend, and when she started the podcast, she's like, "You definitely need to be on." I'm like, "Yeah, of course I'm gonna go on."
Yeah.
Duh. Yeah. So I actually was born in Bangkok, Thailand, and I immigrated here with my mom when I was 7 years old. I actually had a really like rough childhood. Like, I guess we can go into that later, but in Thailand, just before I moved to America, and then when I moved here, it was sort of like the awakening, like the beginning of it all. The first time I saw color, because I felt like I had kind of a depressing childhood. But my mom, had divorced my biological father, and they got separated, and so did me and my sister. And so it was just me and her going to America for the first time. And we moved to a small town called Tracy, California initially. And then we moved again to Manteca, California. My mom remarried to my current stepdad. That's where I got my last name, McFerren. And she also let me choose my first name as well, my first and middle name.
Wait, what's your original first name?
Jitsupa Tang Dongjit.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I don't think anyone could say it. And that was why we decided we needed to change it, because every time, like I went to third grade. That was my first grade that I went to when I went to America, and no one could pronounce my name. I didn't even speak English. I didn't speak a word of English. And it took me about 1.5 years to be fluent. I was in like the ESL, English as a Second Language program, and then I moved to the gated program in like a year, a gifted and talented program. And I worked really hard because I was just like determined to learn English. And I did really well in academia. And so basically fast forward to college, I got into UCLA. And that was when I was like, wow, moving away from home. I lived a really sheltered life. Up to that point, my mom and dad didn't let me go out past 5 p.m.
Wow.
And I didn't have many friends anyway, so all I did was study and read books.
So no friends, no boyfriends?
I had one friend, and she lived down the street.
Until what age? 17?
A while, like until I got into college.
Wow.
Yeah, no one. I guess like she was the other Asian girl in school. Like there was no other Asian girls, and so she was like, "You're the other Asian girl in school. I'm gonna befriend you." Her name was Colleen, and so she would call me every day on the home phone.
Yeah.
And we would like talk for an hour, and I'd be like, wow, she's like really interested in me. And like I didn't know how to make friends because I had social anxiety growing up because of my upbringing. Up to the age of 7, like my parents left me pretty early on, and so I didn't know how to like form these relationships. And so having somebody else like reach out was like really important, and that was like my first taste of friendship, I guess, as a kid. And then when I got into college, I got into UCLA. I went to this program called Leadership Enterprise for a Diverse America, LEADA. Mm-hmm. And they help like low income students get into top colleges. And all of my like college, I guess all of the people in that got into like Harvard, Stanford, Yale. And so it felt to me like, oh, I just got to UCLA. I was like, oh, this isn't as big of a deal because I was comparing myself to them. And then I realized like UCLA is a big deal.
Yeah.
And I got a scholarship because my grades were good and it was low income. But I worked really hard in school. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I was like a nerd. I really like sciences. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do psychobiology. That was like what I declared. And I thought I was going to be going into the medical field after I graduated because it was stable. And that's why my mom considered, my mom said, we moved you over here. Like, we need you to, make money for us, obviously. And my sister, I was following my sister's footsteps, and she went to the U.S. Naval Academy, Annapolis. And that was such a big deal. You have to get a congressional nomination and all this. And so I realized I needed to do more in school. And that was when I decided to, major in psychobiology. And then I realized I didn't really like the medical field, and I was much more creative than that. My mom, when I was growing up, my mom was painting murals around the neighborhood. And so I always grew up around art, and I always loved art. My first ever business was actually my best friend Colleen, helping me with this, but I started a shirt business, and
I didn't know
it was like a hand-painted graphic T-shirt. I had painted the first T-shirt for my boyfriend at the time, and everyone in school saw it, and they were like, oh my God, can I get one? And so everyone started asking for custom T-shirts, and I would charge over $100 for it, which was a lot of money at the time. And so I always had this thing for art, and I got into my first school. I did my first art class, and that was with Professor Don Suggs at UCLA, and he opened my eyes up about what art could be, because I thought art was just like drawing sort of realism, and then I realized, wait, I can actually draw, express myself in a much more abstract way. And he opened up my eyes to how anybody can make art if the process is correct. And so it became more of a journey of exploration for art, and that was when I really fell in love with it. And so then when I graduated, I opened up this Instagram page, The Modern Artista, which is my current Instagram page, and the name is still the same. And I sold art off of it. I started documenting my art through that class, and then people started asking for commissions, similar to my shirt company. And so basically, I sold my first commission for a few grand, and that was when I was like, wait, this is crazy. This is the most money I've ever seen from my bare hands. They just bought this. I made this with my bare hands, and they just bought this. And so I was like, wow, this is incredible. And so my 4-year journey with art started, and I did that for about full time. I took a little bit of some side jobs here and there, but most of the time I was committed to being an artist. And then I realized it was pretty stagnant, and that I had to be at the canvas, in front of the canvas every single day, 8 hours a day or more to complete a piece. And it just felt like it wasn't scalable. I was like, I can't do this for long term. But one of my clients, a few of my clients actually, were all e-commerce business people. And so I was looking at what they were doing. Shopify was gaining traction at the time, and I realized, wait, this is something that I should look into, because I can actually put my creativity into a product and replicate it infinitely, whatever amount, right? And I don't have to be there in front of the canvas. I can focus on building something meaningful and long-term. And so that's when I decided, I want to start a business. And then I saw magnetic lashes sort of trending, but it was the type that sandwich your lashes in between 2 layers of magnets.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, and they fell off instantly, or something was wrong. It was just really difficult to apply. And so I decided to kind of look into that deeper, because it was a really cool, interesting idea, but the application and the execution of it was just wrong. And so I went on a product deep dive for about a year, because I also realized there's no easy to apply lashes on the market. None of my friends could apply lashes. There's a real problem here in the market that's not being met.
And also, you were passionate about that because you wear fake lashes all the time?
Yeah, I mean, going back to being the only Asian kid in school, I was very insecure about the way my eyes looked compared to everyone else. I was I wanted big lashes,
doll eyes.
I wanted doll eyes, right? Like everyone else who was around me who was white. I was I want to be like that. Obviously, when you're the only person, you just feel insecure. And so I I always wore lashes. I started wearing lashes at a very early age, and I never took them off. And so I was an expert in lashes in my own right, but none of my friends knew how to apply them. So I realized there was a big gap in the market there that needed to be filled, and I felt like it was my calling. I felt very called to this to this purpose, and so I spent about a year and a half in product development, and teaching myself everything on even sourcing, product development, how to do all that, like all on Google and YouTube, basically.
You learned everything on Google?
Yeah, I mean, I just literally Googled I didn't actually like ask anyone for help. I didn't get mentorship from anyone. I just watched a bunch of content. Like, if you think about it, all the top mentors already put information out there on the internet.
They do. It's so funny because I always talk about how in school you don't learn these skills, these life skills that are out there in the world, and there are people that are, putting out this content that is so useful and valuable and is going to change the trajectory of your life. But you did it yourself, which is incredible.
Yeah, thank you.
And also, you didn't have to raise money, did you?
Yeah, so I just wanted, honestly, when I started, my goal was just to make $10,000 a month, and I'd feel like that would be a great living for me, and that was my goal initially when I started. So I obviously wanted to do with like not raising capital and all that. I didn't want it to be complex. I just wanted it to kind of be my own like little business that I ran, and then. But then, I developed a product and got this like magnetic eyeliner formula created, and then also developed the lashes. There were no like voluptuous long lashes on the market that were magnetic. Again, like everything was sort of thin, plasticky, and sandwiched between 2 layers of magnets. And so when I developed the lashes, it was like a big deal because when people actually applied it, they were like, "Whoa, this is really good." That was when I knew that this product would do well, because I tested it on all of my friends, and everybody's reaction was like, "Whoa, what?" like just like mind blown. And when you have a product that blows your mind, especially in beauty, I think it's a home run. And so I felt really good about the product. I knew that it was going to work. And so, we launched on July 31st, 2019.
That's my birthday.
No way.
Yeah, July 31st is my birthday.
Whoa, that's crazy.
That's so nuts. Go on, though.
Glamnetic and you are twins.
Yeah, we're... Okay.
And so we launched July 31st, and the first day we did like $1,000 in sales, and that was honestly, I was like, wow, that's a lot of money. Like in one day, I was like, this is crazy.
That is a lot for one day. But where were you selling it? Like
it was on Shopify.
You just made
page
the
very plain, like not Shopify Plus, just normal Shopify. Like,
but how did people find out about you?
I started an Instagram page at Glamnetic, and initially, actually, it was a meme page that I ran. It grew to like a few thousand followers, and then like after the brand started, I started switching the content over to Glamnetic, and I still remember. By the way, I forgot to talk about the name, but the moment that I created the name, I was like sitting on the kitchen table, and I was trying to put words together because I realized how you need to kind of make your own name if you want something that hits in people's minds. You can't just put call it like silly lashes or lovely lashes. Like it's just like it looks, you know what I mean? You needed to create something new that no one's ever heard of. And so, especially if you want it not taken on Instagram or on the website. And so I started putting these word combos together, and Glamnetic hit. And that was when I was like, whoa. And I think
it's a great name. And also I love that not only you wear your own product, but you have the necklace of the brand name. You're always wearing it.
Yeah, the first month we launched, I bought the necklace because I was just like, I'm so proud of what I created, and I want to wear it. I want to sport, and it looks great actually as a necklace because the words are like the letters are perfect. So when I put those 2 words together, I was like, this is it. I think this is a home run product. After that, me basically tried to keep scaling. I actually hired an intern at UCLA. I was at a party at UCLA, and she was there, and I told her what I was doing, and she was like, if you ever need an intern, I don't care. I will work for free. I just want to learn from you. Like, please. I was like, okay, sure. Like, doesn't hurt to have help. And so she started working with me part-time a little bit. Her name was Shay. And then she would help with this thing called DM sales that we would do, which we would DM every follower. Because I was like, how do I make money if the customers aren't really hearing about it? The only people that are obviously like know about it are following Glamnetic, but they're not activated. They're not purchasing actively. How do I get them to purchase? And that is like by literally messaging every person and being
and
like,
what would you say?
Hey, I'm Ann, the founder of Glamnetic. Saw you're following the page. Just wanted to know like if you have any questions about the product. And then like I would get maybe like a 10% response rate, and that was good enough. And then I would make them a custom discount code in their name. At around this time, by the way, I met my business partner, Kevin Gold. So he was a co-founder of I&H Hair, and surname here, hair. And I had been wearing their hair for a while because they sent me hair, and I was also kind of like a micro-influencer as well. And they asked me to be a model, and I was like, ooh, I want to learn about like the inner workings of a brand, like behind the scenes, because maybe I'm going to do this one day. And so I went to the photo shoot, and he was there, and at first I thought he was the photographer. and then basically like afterwards he asked me about my brand, and I started telling him about it, and that's when he was like, wait, I want to be a part of this. And so that was sort of when we started partnering up. Like it was about a month after we launched, but I had gone through the whole development process and launched and everything. And I was like, doesn't hurt to have help, but I basically just said I need help with like ops, finance, all the back end, all the stuff that I don't want to do. I want to focus on product, marketing, brand, like everything, outward facing. And so that's when that partnership began. And he had that idea about the DM sales. And I was like, oh, that's really smart. And that was sort of when I started going ham on it. And I was doing that for like the first 3 months. And then meanwhile, I also found this ad buyer in India to run like Facebook ads. I didn't think it was going to honestly be that massive for us.
But I heard at that time at least Facebook ads were everything.
Yeah, it was a big, especially, I mean, honestly, like if you started Facebook ads 10 years ago, the ROI was insanely good, and then like 5 years ago, even good, and then it kind of just slowly started getting worse. But like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, it was still good. And so I just started giving him ads. He would be like, I just need some ads with you like talking about the product or like showing the product. I didn't have an editor. I didn't have any resources. So I was just like, I'm just going to talk about the product myself, record myself on the phone, and let's just run with that because that's the budget I have right now. And so I was like, hi, I'm Ann, founder and CEO of Glamnetic. If you struggle with lashes, whatever. I just like talked about like introducing Glamnetic, magnetic lashes, and then I would apply it. I was like, just apply the magnetic eyeliner and the lashes magnetize. You don't need normal liner, you don't need glue. And that was it. Like that was the ad, 15 to 30 seconds. And I gave it to him, and he ran them. And they started working really well because I think people were like shook that there was no product like that on the market really. And so people were like, whoa, what is this crazy thing? And lashes is like the most important, I would say the most important beauty product. You can wear lashes and nothing else and you look like you have makeup on. You look beautiful.
Oh,
right?
It's true.
It feminizes the face. But it's obviously really expensive. Getting lash extensions done, it's like $200. You have to go every 2 weeks. It's so annoying. And no one can apply lash glue if they try to do a strip lash. So I was like, I'm really solving a problem here. And so we started really seeing like the sales lift, including me like doing the DM sales. So like every single month we started getting like revenue sort of doubling month over month. And every penny we made, we put it back into ads. So it's just like this machine of just like, okay, every penny we make, let's put it back. And then like on this, I think it was January, December. Yeah, it was like December. And basically from July to December, we did like $1 million. And then we sort of kept building on it, right? And I hired my first employee about December, like November, December, Mia. It was so difficult to hire somebody because
the hiring process is difficult.
Well, especially when you're like literally so bootstrapped. I'm working out of my Koreatown apartment, and it's like a little townhouse in the back of a bigger house. It looks like a mini garage, and I just like made it a studio. And I'm working in this, and that's like the Glamnetic headquarters. And so when I would try to hire people, I hired people off Craigslist initially, like the first 3 employees.
No way.
Yeah, because I was like, I don't know where else to go. And obviously that was a mistake because I ended up training them for like a day, and I I was just getting over like this barrier in my mind of like hiring somebody, because it's, you know, to relinquish control was a lot, especially when I'm like, I got everything kind of, all my ducks are in a row, like I'm doing everything right, I'm seeing this momentum build, but I just can't handle it all. It's getting like
yeah, nobody can handle it all, and you have to learn how to delegate.
Customer service, and also dealing with product issues, because like we didn't have QC back at the time, so it was just like, and then having to relay that to the supplier and getting new products in, having to change things, product develop, customer marketing, and I was also taking all the photography, and so it was just like a lot, and I was like, oh my god, I don't think I can handle this, because I was working like basically the entire, like from morning to exactly when I sleep, like from waking to sleep, I didn't do anything else and talk to anybody else, and so it became overwhelming, and that was when I was like, okay, I think I need to figure out like how to spend a day, like take a day off of doing all this and just train somebody. And then I went through 3 people who like stayed for a day, and then they were like, oh, JK, like I can't do this, because they were just like, this is a lot you're expecting from me, and you're not paying me that much. So obviously, and I'm in a little back house in a Koreatown apartment, like ghetto, you know, it's like it's not glamorous. And I was like, well, okay. So I felt really defeated. And then finally, one of my friends, Vanya, recommended me to like another person that was like a friend. And that was when that recommendation went far, because she was like telling her, she's like, I think this brand's gonna go somewhere. You should definitely like work here. I know you just graduated. You don't need, it's your first job, but like, you should do it. You should stick with it.
That's helpful, because then that person is vetted.
Exactly. And so like Mia Slaughter came in, and she actually ended up also being like a model as well, because she was so pretty. And then she did everything else. She was like my right-hand woman to everything. And so initially she started off with everything, and then it went really well. She stayed, kept coming back to work, and I was like, thank God. And then a month after that, we kept growing, and then a month after that, we kept growing. So we kept like adding more employees. We added like 2-3 more, and then we got an office, and then COVID hit.
Oh my God.
COVID hit, right? A month after we got our office, or a month or 2 after we got our office, COVID hit, and so we're like, okay, back into my Koreatown apartment.
Well, thank God you were able to get out of the lease.
Yeah, because I think everything went to shit, and but thankfully, like people still were purchasing product, and the great thing about COVID was like the masks, right? So lipstick sales went down, but the lash sales went up. So we were just like right place, right time, and everything just like shot up like 3x. It was crazy.
Wow.
So like, yeah, we were doing like $1 million a month.
Holy shit.
And I was still like startup vibes.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we're running everything the same. And we were still running ads. I'm like literally filming like 20 to 30 ads a day. And he's just like, the ad buyer's just like testing. And we got hit up by Ulta like the first quarter of 2020, and then they were like, we want to carry you, and I was like, we're not ready, but we're gonna be ready. We're gonna work it out. And
wait, what made you say you're not ready?
Well, we're just small. Like it was just me and like 2 other girls, 2-3 other girls.
But also, did you feel like you didn't have enough product?
Oh yeah, we kept that was another big problem, was the inventory. Like you can't forecast inventory quick enough. I started with 100 units of each SKU, and then we only had 5 lashes, so that sold out really quickly, and then it just like you couldn't keep up with the ordering. We were sold out a lot, and so actually we missed out on a lot of money because we were sold out a lot. And then like inventory forecasting was just impossible when you're going that quickly, unless you over order, and then you're like, fuck,
and then you could be left with you don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And so we just had to kind of like guess, and then we just wanted first to just make sure our D2C business was stable before we can do retail, but thankfully they gave us some time. And so we had like a year basically. So we like launched the following year with Ulta, and it ended up being like an amazing partnership, and still is an amazing partnership. And then another thing that happened was like Hello Kitty.
I know.
Reached out. I don't know if they reached out or we reached out, but yeah, we had a call, and I was still in that little office before COVID hit, and I was just like basically like acting like we had a bigger brand than we actually were, because online we looked like we were bigger, right?
I mean, that's the thing is like nobody really knows.
Yeah, no one really knows if it's like how many people are like running the business. But I felt, like a little bit of an imposter syndrome because it all happened so quickly. Like my goal was like $10,000 a month, like, and here we are, just trying to keep up with orders. And I remember like we were so sold out that I felt really bad because I was like, oh shoot, we have some back orders. I need to get these orders out quick. And so I just ordered the liners without the label because it would take the factory like another month or so to complete the label, ship it, and all that stuff with the secondary packaging. So then I just basically told them, ship me everything. I'll handle it myself. And so I like had 5,000 liners shipped to us. And then I just had friends
help with the labels?
Literally, we were there for 10 hours, putting labels on. Like, again, I was still in my Koreatown apartment, so it was a really small space, packaging everywhere.
And you're doing that too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like, free pizza. And thankfully, I had like really good friends who were like willing to help and be there. But then we got the packages out in time, so that was really good. But it felt like a labor of love. Like it was, and I'll always look back on those years being like, wow, like that was a fucking amazing time. Like I loved every second of it. Even though it was so hard and stressful, it was just like, I just feel like you're never gonna go through that again, like in a business.
Yeah. No, I totally, I relate to that.
Yeah. It's so fun. Like, and I think that when people ask me like, what should I do in life? Like I'm lacking purpose. I'm like, go wherever your heart feels called to. Like that's sort of where I was really, really lost. Like I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just followed where my curiosity went, and that led me into the right place. Like I started with art, and I thought that was what my purpose was, and then I realized like I'm not really having that much fun here. What can I do? Like when you stop having fun doing what you're doing, that means like you should shift. And I know that sounds like, oh, it's like shiny object syndrome, but like it does. I feel like your intuition leads you to the right place.
Yeah, and I feel like that's not to say that, the thing that you're passionate about, that you have fun doing, won't also come with really hard work, you know, and grunt work that is not as exciting as the actual execution of the product or whatever it is that you're doing. You know what I mean? Like you still had to sit there and do some grunt work and find people and go through new hires and all this stuff that's like really exhausting to do, but it's still your passion, and so it becomes worth it. And people don't realize like the difference between, having fun and being passionate, and also like, maybe you won't be having fun for a little bit while you're getting there. Yeah.
And I think another big thing is people don't realize like when you're starting off and you don't have nothing and you are starting from the beginning, you don't have much to lose. So like I knew that, what's the worst that could happen, right? I lose everything. I lose all my money. Like I didn't care because I've been there before. Like I used to trade in the stock market. I was like a day trader for about a year and for 2 years. I just wanted to figure out a way to like get out of 9-to-5 race and just make my own money, and it blew up in my face. Like I blew up my account twice. Like,
oh my God,
I went to zero twice.
I had no idea.
I went up to like $30,000 in my account, $50,000 in my account, and then I like at
one trade it's gone
that age, and then I was in like a Shopify actually. Dude. I was in a Shopify trade overnight before earnings call, and I was like, it's gonna be a positive earnings call. Like I knew it, and it was, but what was crazy was that stock went down 30%. And I was over leveraged on the position. And I was like, why is it going down? And I realized it was just like people did know it was a positive earnings, but it was below what was expected. Like they were expecting it to be like this, but it went like this, even though it was positive. And so it went down 30%. I was shook and I lost like all my money.
Oh my God.
And so, I was just like, I was used to it. I was like, I'm okay with starting from zero. Cause I remember when I moved from Thailand, I started from zero, like even worse. Cause I didn't even have friends. I didn't have a family. And so I was like, I feel like it's worth it. And so I think that's makes it more fun because you feel like it's not so high stakes that you're going to lose everything. And then as you get bigger though, that's when it gets more stressful because you're like, there's a lot more at stake. If I make the wrong decision on a product, it's like costing the brand hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's not the same, $100, $2,000, $5,000 mistake. It's like the hundreds of thousands of dollars in mistake and a bunch of team time and development. And we've made a few of those. You know, like we over projected what we were going to make, you know, the year after COVID, and we over ordered on inventory, and so we had to like write off a bunch of inventory. Like there's just a bunch of things like that like happened along the way. Like there was an automatic discount code on Shopify that was mistakenly put there, and people went ham and got like hundreds of $1,000s worth of free product. And we didn't even know it was already shipped. Like people went ham and they bought.
Dude.
It was crazy stuff like that. You're like, oh, I need to put a freaking filter, so that any orders above X amount like get flagged. Like there's all these like things that you just don't know going into a business, and so you just make the mistakes. And so we're very much of the notion like fail fast, and figure it out, and make sure that we don't do it again, kind of thing. But no one's gonna be there like telling you like don't do X, Y, Z, because they're so specific. And it's specific to your brand, specific to your product, specific to your customers that you just like would never know and find out unless you like go through it. But I think again, like it makes it fun, you know. Obviously, if everything was always sunshines and rainbows, it's not gonna be fun. You're just gonna get used to that, and then it's like human nature to get used to something, and then like your brain goes somewhere else. So I think the challenge of it makes it more like exciting, and it makes you more focused on it, because you're like, there's a lot of hand. I need to make sure that everything goes well. But yeah, scaling was when the business really changed. Like we got to like 30 employees. Now we're at like 100.
You're at 100 employees.
Yeah, and some of them are like globally distributed. Like we have a lot in the Philippines and India.
And also, you're not just in Ulta. You're in Sephora.
Yeah.
You're in Walmart.
No. So we're at a higher price point, so we couldn't get into like a mass.
But there was
retailer.
another one I saw you and you announced it. What
Kohl's.
was it? Kohl's.
Yeah.
Okay, there
so
we go.
we're in all basically Sephora and Kohl's. They both had partnerships with Target and Kohl's, respectively, and so like we got into all of those avenues because we already had the partnership with Ulta and Sephora. But what was crazy was like on our first birthday launch. We launched nails, press-on nails, which is a completely different category. And like, just because you launch a different category and you already have a lot of customers doesn't mean that category is going to succeed. If anything, it's more likely to fail because customers just aren't used to you. They know you as like
the lashes
like your name Glamnetic means magnetic, right? But I'm like, no, like the magnetic actually means like magnetic as a person. Like you're a magnetic person, you have a magnetic personality, and when you feel beautiful and you put on our products, you feel that confidence, you become a magnetic person. So that was sort of where that's how I felt Glamnetic really represented to me. And so yeah, press on nails was like the new thing that I was like, I don't feel like there's anything on the market that's like super trendy and high quality for press on nails. It's a antiquated industry. It's been around for 20, 30 years, but it has a bad rep. People think anyone who wears press on nails is like cheap or whatever, or it just doesn't look as good as like going to the nail salon.
Are you wearing them now?
Yeah.
Okay, here, look. Let's do looks the same almost. Are you guys getting this? Is it there?
I mean, I can't even. This is a new.
But
style we're like.
You're always testing your stuff. It looks very similar, and these are mine. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that was my goal when I built this category, because I always loved press-on nails. I've only went to the nail salon like 3 times in my life, and I hated it.
Really?
I hated getting acrylics. I got it for prom once, and I just remember how painful it was on my nails. I was like, why is it so painful? It was so uncomfortable, and if I wanted to take it off, I had to go back to the nail salon. I'm like, oh my God, like there's full dependency on needing this nail artist for me to like get my nails. This is crazy. But girls deal with it like every 2 weeks, month. I was like, this is crazy. So I started using press-on nails instead, and I didn't like any of the designs. Like I just got basic ones like French or whatever, but if I wanted any trendy designs, especially ones that were on my Instagram home feed, there was like nothing on the market. I was like, this is crazy. No one's, again, I saw an industry that I just felt like didn't have trend, and I went into it. So I started creating like the nails, and we started creating custom nail molds where like nobody else has the nail mold, like the shape, the length, like everything was custom. And then we got it mass replicated, and then our team, because everyone's really young, like I'm the oldest person on our product development team, and they're always on Instagram. So it helps because we're always like sending inspo in a channel. And then we have a whole process that we follow, and we go through different iterations of one design, like 10 times. We get like 10 different samples from the supplier until it's perfect. So we really put a lot of detail, effort, like
into the product
to make sure it literally looks, my goal is to have it indistinguishable from the real life inspo. Like if someone had it done at the salon and they put it next to our nail, like I want it to be either the same or better. Most of the time it's better because it's like, it's not handmade, so it's like always perfect, you know?
Yeah, I love that video of Matt talking about how your nails look just like the nails that everyone gets done at a salon. Yeah. That actually, I feel like it went semi-viral.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did really well.
I think it hit the nail on the head with like, especially a man, like if girls can't tell, you think a man can tell? No. Like he was just like, I didn't even know you weren't going to the salon. I assumed that you were this whole time. But then I realized obviously you have a brand, a nail brand. So, but I think it hit it right on the nose. He was just like, I think it's sexy that you have like beautiful nails, but I love that you don't have to spend time or money doing it. And obviously like, guys spending money on their girls, like to go to the nail salon, they save money too, so they love
100%. It. So you created a great product, 2 great products, and then you're also saving people money.
Yeah, that's a big cornerstone of the brand. Like the big ethos is like save people time, money, and effort. So we're taking salon services and bringing it back home. So like DIY beauty basically, and giving accessibility and also power back to the people in terms of their beauty routine, because it's just like, think about it. We spend, how many hours do you think overall cumulatively you've spent in your lifetime getting ready?
Hundreds of thousands.
Right.
I don't.
It's like if you probably just like actually recorded the amount of time that you spend on like just beauty, like thinking about it, buying it, plus the getting ready.
It's at least an hour. And think about like all of these get ready with me videos. It's not just like the choosing the outfit. It's like you literally spend at least half an hour putting on the foundation, contouring the face, doing your eyeliner, now doing your lashes, lining your lips. It's just like, it's insane.
It's like a necessary evil almost, like to be a part of society.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy what we have to.
Because it's like it sucks. It's like, I mean, obviously men are judged more about like how successful they are. Women are judged by like their beauty and their whatever. And it's like, as much as I don't want that to be the case in society, it is, you know.
Oh, it's 100% true. The amount that we value youth and beauty for women compared to other characteristics is just astronomically, you know.
Yeah.
On a higher rung.
Yeah, it's honestly, I thought about this. I had this thought because I was like, especially, you know, people who go to Burning Man or like places where it's like you're out in nature and you're not like in society, you realize that all of these are constructs. Like beauty is a human construct. You know, the feeling like you need to look a certain way is a human construct. Time is a construct in itself. The need to climb a ladder of success is a construct. Like you don't actually need any of those things. Like really, the only thing that matters in life is love and like your connection with other people. But unfortunately, in society, like that beauty standard makes you feel like that's a necessary part of like the armor that you need to put on in order to have those relationships, which is so not true.
And to be accepted by society, or, you know, to hold the male gaze or whatever it is that makes you feel like you belong. Yeah. It's crazy.
So I'm just like, I just want to be on this mission to like shorten that.
The time that we spend on that.
Shorten the effort, like make it brainless, make it like fun, you know? Like if you can make beauty and the routine itself fun and not tedious, then you're doing something good for the world, right?
Yeah. Ann, you are the main model of your brand. Beautiful, successful.
Thank you.
You know, you've seen yourself on billboards on main streets in Los Angeles and other places. I've literally been to Sephora with you in like Vegas and other places where your face is there, and you're pretty young to have success at this age, which it's a great thing. I love that. But you know, now that you've had a taste of all of this, what can you tell people who want to go on a journey like yours? Because you've learned a lot, you've felt a lot.
Yeah.
You know, you were Forbes 30 under 30. You've had all the markers in society that everyone strives towards. You've been there, done that now.
Yeah, it's so crazy that you say and you give an overview like that, because it doesn't feel like, I still don't feel like super successful for some reason. Like, it's not, and I feel like that's maybe just like the human brain. When you get used to something, you're just like, okay, like I don't know. I'm obviously like really grateful for all of those opportunities and what I've been able to accomplish, but it hasn't set in my head. I think a lot of the reason why is because I don't really define success by like how many billboards and like how much money you make. I don't really define success that way. I feel like the most successful people, the people that I look up to, are the happiest people in the world, like the people that get to really just do whatever they love, like have total freedom, and that to me is like success. And you know, I feel like Glamnetic is my identity, and I represent that to the world, and I want to spread the love of Glamnetic to the world. And so in that way, I sort of have to be the face of it because I am the brand. But I don't necessarily feel like an ego about it, I guess. It was cool to have it, and it was like surreal to see that. And people are like, oh my God, like they think it's so much more like cool than what I personally think, because I'm just like, this is just a part of the job, like, you know?
Yeah.
I sort of see it like that. And so I think it's because I don't have as much of an ego about it. I still feel like the same exact person as before I started. Like, I'm still down to like drive my PT Cruiser around and like get paint all over me, and I don't really care. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I love that about you. I remember when I first met you in Miami, I thought, oh my God, she's so humble. You were just so humble and sweet and like trying to get to know people, and you didn't have that ego at all, which was foreign to me because I've met a lot of successful people in and outside of LA, and you know, a lot of that, once they get there, they start their ego gets a little bigger, and you know, they see themselves as maybe like above others or whatever. You know, we see that a lot in LA, and I love the way you define success, and just knowing you as a friend. You're not superficial like that, even though you own a beauty brand. Not that that's superficial, but you know what I mean? It's like you pay attention to other things besides beauty. Like, you know, you're always trying to like get people together and go on adventures, or like even on your birthday, you have your friends over in your house, and you know, you get everyone around the table and they're sharing personal things, and like we're all crying together and stuff, which is like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's a beautiful thing. So, yeah, I really admire that about you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I really love that, by the way. Like what I did on my birthday, I'm just so sick of like the superficial like LA parties. I obviously, like growing up in LA, I was like, initially it was like, wow, that's so cool, whatever. Like getting to those parties was whatever. And then when you get older, you're like, wow, I realize I don't really get much out of going to these parties. I meet 5 million people at a party and I forget their names. I don't remember. It's like you want to get to know that person and their soul, and the only way you can do that is through deep connection. And that's why I was like, on my birthday, I want to do something different. So like I invited some people that I wanted to get to know more, and then also people that were already my close friends. And then I had people we sort of made like a Shiloh's Tea House vibe. I don't know if you know what that is, but like it's more of like cozy, comfy, ambience, lighting. And then we sat around in a circle and everyone like shared, you know, first we did intros, which got really emotional because people were really sharing like their life story. And there were some stories that we were just like, holy crap, like you went through some shit, you know? And then we did We Are Not Really Strangers games, which is like it asks like really deep questions that are really personal.
We
and
have
vulnerable.
it somewhere here.
It's so deep, and people really opened up to strangers. And so like we sort of had this fast bonding because within 2 hours, like everyone knew like
really personal things
soul.
about each other.
Yeah. And it was like this deep bond and connection that you can't get through a normal like party, right? Because you just don't go there. It's taboo, I guess. But if you create a space where people can have that connection with each other, it's powerful, and people feel almost like energized and relieved and for the first time connected, right? Like I think a lot of people in big cities especially, they're feeling disconnected from other people because it's like there's so many people around, but yet you're not really like knowing anybody on a deep level because there's no stillness. There's always chaos. It's always like the million parties that are going around, and maybe there's a better option. So you always feel like you always feel distracted. And so I think it's really important, and I encourage everyone else to do it too. Just create a space with you and your friends where you can like have these conversations with them, encourage them to share deep things about themselves, because it's really powerful, and people are going to remember that party for like forever. If I just threw a rager, no one would remember it. They'd be like, another rager out of like the 500 I went to.
That's so true.
You know, I wanted something memorable, but the people were like, and I got like 4 or 5 messages out of like the 10 people afterwards, and they were just like, oh my God, like, thank you so much. I really needed that. And I think it was a sign from the universe that I needed to go to your party, because I needed this at this very moment, that encouragement from other people, like the sense of like feeling accepted from other people. And it was so beautiful. I almost cried. I was like, this is so
You
cute.
did cry.
I did cry.
No, it's true. We should do that more, because I love getting people together too. You've been to my house like so many times.
You should do. You're really good at throwing parties. I think you should do that for your next event. I think
Yeah. No, I totally will. We could plan it together.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I remember specifically that night you were talking about like your background and how you grew up poor and in Thailand and the moving and all of that. I feel like so many people that I talk to who are either successful founders or they're successful, actors, or in some way they've made it. Mm-hmm. They have stories like that. Yeah. Where they had a really hard upbringing filled with like trauma and uncertainty and whatever. But what was your childhood like? What's the story there?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up with my biological dad I would describe him as, I don't know. I mean, I was really young, but I just remember his energy being like really hostile, and not like there was no love there. And so he was a drunk, like chronically would always go out and drink until he couldn't see anymore, come home, stumble back home. And I remember one night specifically, he like hit my mom like really hard. And me and my sister were in the other room. We're like, because we already knew that he was not coming back home, but he was out like with prostitutes, and I don't know. I don't even know what he was doing. But after that, my mom was like, okay, I'm gonna take a stance, and like we can't be together anymore. And we had and basically they had a divorce. And I remember her. I remember I was on my grandfather's like house, and she was like, okay, so you're picking who you want to live with, like basically choosing custody. Who are you picking? And my dad was always like rough with me, like he hit me, and he always liked my sister more. And so I obviously picked my mom. Like when I saw her, it was like love, light, warmth, and then him was like cold, dark. Like that was what I remember as a kid. And then after the divorce, my mom put me in my great grandfather's house. And then she basically put me there. I remember it was like a stormy night, like thundering outside. She tucked me in bed, and she was like, I'm going, basically. And I didn't know what was happening. And then I woke up the next day, and she was gone. And I didn't know why. And she was gone for like 2 years. And that, when you're 7, like feels like an eternity. And it was like a house it was a really bad, like the environment was really, again, cold. My grandfather was in the Thai Navy, and so he lost all his hearing. Or he was a pilot, and he lost all his hearing. And so he was mute also. He couldn't really talk. And then this was really sad, my great-grandmother, right before I was born, she suffered a fall in that bathroom downstairs. And she fell in such a way that it, like, her spine severed, and she couldn't do anything. She was a complete vegetable. She was just in bed, like her brain was alive, but her whole body was immobile and dead. And she just sat in the bed, being fed through a tube. And
this is who you were staying with at age 7.
Yeah, and I just saw her. She was always like in the back corner of the house on the bed. And then I was with my great-grandfather, and he was just like mute and deaf, and like I couldn't communicate with anybody, right? And so and he was really poor. It was like a dilapidated house, and he went to the market every Sunday and got me potato chips, like a large bag of potato chips, and that's like basically all I ate the whole week. So it was just like a really, and then when I went to school, like I had to walk to school like at 5 a.m., 4 a.m., whatever, every morning, and there was no like shower. It was just like a basin with water, and then like I would have to pour myself with cold water every morning. And I think I went to depression as a kid. Like I think that's what it was. Like I just remember everything was black and white, and like I had the most horrible like nightmares, and I never thought my mom was gonna. I was like, my family's just gone overnight. And so 2 years later, my mom finally came back, but like that was super traumatic. Because also at school, my teacher, this was kindergarten in Thailand. For every this is the way that they like used to reprimand their students. For every test question that I got wrong, they would hit you that amount of time. So students, after they got the test scores, would line up in front of the teacher. A teacher had this stick, and he would hit your hand the amount of times you got wrong. So if you got 5 wrong, you get hit 5 times. And she had like a really big stick, so I would come home with like bruised hands. So it was like, and I would walk home, and it was like super sweltering hot all the time. So it was just like a terrible overall like experience that I think I felt like super alone, like being in that. So yeah, when my mom came and got me, I was like in depression. Like I couldn't even react. Like I didn't even know. I was just like, I just accepted my fate, you know, like I was like, this is how life is gonna be. And so I was so grateful. Like I still remember the moment, like going over the Golden Gate Bridge, and I remember seeing like how beautiful like life was. So yeah, I'm just like super grateful to be in America. I think it's, you know, it truly is the land of opportunity. And I couldn't have accomplished it like if my mom didn't give me that chance, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know the extent of what that was like living in Thailand with your grandfather and great grandmother, and just like not being able to communicate, going to school, you know, getting hit for being wrong about something, like, you know, but that you were able to leave and come to America, and that your mom came back is just like, thank God.
I mean, I'm still grateful. Like I think that people have experienced way worse than me in life, and like in their childhood, I've heard some crazy stories. So it makes me feel like, okay, what I went through wasn't like so bad. But obviously, like when you're just in that situation, you're like, this is like hell on earth. And my sister, I feel bad for my sister because she had it even worse than me, because she had to stay in Thailand for like 5 years after me.
Because she stayed with your dad.
Yeah, she stayed with my dad, and he was a psycho. So like she went through some shit, you know, and she still has depression and like dealing with a lot of issues from
because of that.
So like in a way, like I had it way better than her,
yeah.
And I feel really bad because she's still dealing with it, you know, and I have gotten free from it, and I'm working on it. But I think it's good because it just makes you more grateful for like everything.
Yeah, I think so too. And also I feel like it's important for people to know, you know, whatever they are going through.
Yeah.
That they can get out of it and their lives can turn around. Like just the way that you described that moment where like you saw the bridge, you know, and then it's like you saw the light and everything changed, even though you did feel like you were in hell on earth.
Yeah. Yeah, that was when everything shifted, like cool air on my face. I think like cool air on my face. You know, it's crazy because when you're 7, I don't feel like you have many memories, but because it was so like everything was so like jarring, I like vividly still remember looking up and like seeing the bridge, like seeing like the gates, you know, like crossing over the bridge, and I was like, I'm in heaven now, like I'm safe, I'm good, you know. And so like maybe that's what drives me to feel like I don't have anything to lose, because I felt like that was way worse, you know, like I'm never gonna get to that place again. Even if I lose everything, I'm like, I'm still gonna.
You're still in America.
I'm still in America. Yeah, and I still have the resources and like the friends and like all of this stuff. I feel like I actually have made friends who like would stick with me even after everything like changes for me, you know, like if everything was if I didn't have anything.
Yeah. Hearing that story makes you as a person makes so much more sense to me, because I remember we were at that Rise festival, and it was me, you, and Matt, and like everywhere you would go, you would look at like a sculpture or like a mountain or something, and you're like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. Like, I can't believe we're here. Like, every little thing you would turn into like a big thing. And me and Matt were walking, and I'm like, Matt, do you feel that way? I'm like, I don't know. I don't just like look at a mountain and feel that way. He's like, no, me neither, but maybe we should. I'm like, seriously, dude. Like, you know, we it's almost like we took it for granted because we hadn't been where you were. You know what I mean? And it makes so much sense to me how the little things are so precious and beautiful to you, and that you haven't lost that even though you've come this far. You know what I mean? Like, you still are that like young girl who's like seeing something for the first time. And like, you know, it was really it almost gives me so much perspective to hear that story, because it's really a choice to be grateful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it really is a choice that, no matter how many great things have happened, even the most simple thing, you have chosen to make a big thing that you can like be grateful for. And like, wow. That just made so much sense to me when you said that story, because it meant so much to me and Matt. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so lucky I'm friends with her. He's like, yeah, she's so amazing. I love her so much. You know what I mean? It's like, and then on top of that, of course, like, he's always like, she's the prettiest girl, blah, blah, blah. Aww. Like, he loves you so much, but it's not, it's not just that. It's like who you are and your soul and stuff like that, which makes it, even better. But,
thank you. Yeah, I never even thought about it like that, honestly, because I was like, I always wonder why I am so like enthralled by things. I'm like, I always definitely did appreciate like the beauty in all things, and I just thought it was like the artist in me. But you're right, definitely could be the challenge.
It sounds like that's the main thing, because you're on hell on earth, and you haven't seen the light, and so everything, once you get out of that, it becomes the light. Yeah. And they always say, like, you can't appreciate the light without the darkness. Mm-hmm. And this is it's kind of that.
Yeah.
It's that
100%. And I think like the best art comes from, you being in a dark place, because that's when you feel the most emotional, the most connected with yourself. And that's why, the best art is art. For me, I love crying to sad music. I love throwing, like, Rye X for me is like everything, because I feel like he connects to that deep place that a lot of musicians can't connect to, because he connects to it within himself when he channels and when he creates music. And so when I play, and when we saw him at Rise Festival, I was like this is great. Like, this was a pivotal moment in my life. Like, I felt like all of a sudden everything made sense. And yeah, I think, again, like going back to Matt, like it was the first time I also felt like this was a relationship that is healthy, and this is the first time like I've ever been like this in love. And it was crazy, because we only known each other we only like started dating for like a week, and then we said I love you. So it was like,
oh dude, I was there for it.
I know.
Okay, I want to talk about your relationship with Matt, because he's also a friend of mine. I was friends with both of you before you met. But I saw the relationship like happen in front of my eyes, and it was so different, because I also, I'd seen you with, boyfriends, and I never felt like you, I don't know, I never felt like you could be fully yourself, but with him, I feel like you are. So what do you think is like the main difference, and what is it about Matt that brings that out in you?
Yeah, it's like we were talking about this, like psychology when you're growing up. There's like different types of attachment styles. There's like secure attachment. There's like anxious avoidant attachment, and I think I definitely have like more of like an anxious avoidant attachment because obviously my childhood. And so I feel like I get into a lot of relationships with like other people who are like also anxious avoidant males, especially males. It's really easy for them to be more avoidant.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's hard for them to show emotion. But with Matt, I think because he's an artist, and I haven't ever dated like an artist, a creative before, which is weird because I am a creative. It makes sense, but I just never. I don't know why. I think it was I was like attached or whatever, like attracted to anxious avoidant guys, and so he made me feel really secure. I think like he is like super expressive with his emotion, and he's just really cute with all the things that he does, and is actually more expressive than I am. So it's like almost like I feel like a little bit like I'm like sort of the guy in the relationship in the sense of like expressing emotion because he is so expressive and so affectionate that it makes me feel like not as much, you know? And so that makes me feel like really secure and feel really loved and really like, I don't know, validated, I guess, because I never really felt that in a relationship, sadly. And I felt like I was just with I was with businessmen. Like a lot of the guys I dated were like also in business or entrepreneurs, and it was more like they were more focused on their business or whatever else was more important or higher priority, and I was sort of there to like be a support system, versus like being made the priority, which he definitely like reinforces and tells me all the time like I'm the priority, like above everything else, which is insane. You know, like that's crazy to me to have somebody like feel that devoted to you. And so I think that's when I like felt super secure.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, and most of the guys you date, it was in LA, right? Because you were
LA and one in Miami.
Yeah. Do you feel like there's a difference between guys in LA and guys in Miami?
I mean, there's obviously like people that travel to both cities, but like as an average in terms of like people who like live in Miami and stuff, it's definitely a little bit more surface level, I would say, than even LA.
Really?
At least the guys that I've seen, but I don't know. Again, it's like it's all personal experience, so it's hard to say like, and you know, in general, because I haven't even dated. I don't really date. I just get into relationships.
Yeah, you just get into relationships.
So yeah, it's hard for me to say. I wouldn't know because I didn't really explore the dating scene.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. If you could go back and talk to your like 20-year-old self about dating, what would you, or like dating and also priorities?
Yeah.
What do you think you would say, knowing what you know now based on like everything that you've been through and accomplished?
I think like, you know, set your boundaries and like listen to yourself more, because I think I let other people dictate my life because I also felt a little helpless. I think like again, like going off my childhood, I felt helpless. So I think like in relationships, I was also having that relationship with myself where I felt like I didn't have control over anything. Like it was up to the guy to decide or whatever. And so I think definitely show a little bit more dominance in yourself and like what you want. Demand like what you want, you can get. I realized. And this is a whole other topic of like manifestation in the universe.
I mean, why not? Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I realized that, and people, I've heard this before. Like when I started hearing about The Secret, they were like, "Oh, you can manifest anything you want." I was like, that sounds a little tacky. But then I understood it for myself when I started seeing it happen in my life. Like whatever I wanted and wished for, like I got.
But how?
I would just imagine myself already having it and feeling like I already had it. And then it would just magically happen, like within the course of however long, but like pretty short period of time. Same thing with Glamnetic. I definitely like felt like I manifested that because it was something that I really wanted in my life, was like the sense of purpose and like building something that like lasts beyond me. Because that was my goal, is just like to build a household name. And after we surpassed a certain level, I was like, oh, beyond $10,000 a month. Like I've realized like I can make this into a long lasting household name that like, even when I'm 80 years old, I want to look back on it and be like, wow, look at how much it's evolved. And it's turned into this thing, and it was like my baby. And like,
yeah,
I'm
like you don't even
it.
know what it's gonna be.
It's literally like a child.
Like even still now, like it's, you know, you don't know what product you're gonna add next
exactly.
or what you know what I mean.
It's truly is. It's like the same analogy of having a child. It's the exact same. Like you don't know what human you're birthing or the personality that it comes out with. It's gonna have its own personality. It's gonna want to do its own thing. That's the way that I feel like with Glamnetic. I don't know exactly in 80 years where it's gonna go, but like I have an overall feeling and idea of like where I want it to go. But it's, again, it has its own, it almost has its own brain. Like it's gonna grow into something, and it's gonna be really exciting to see where it goes. It's like literally like a kid.
Yeah, I think so many great companies are like that. Netflix, for example, was something completely different. They would like ship DVDs.
Because you don't know what, like, how the times will change, and that's a mark of a great company, is like being able to shift along with whatever's going on around it. It has to shift. Like Netflix, like you said, it's a great example. Flying cars are coming out, you know. We don't know. I heard there's the first flying car coming out in like 2025 or something.
Oh my God.
So it's crazy. Like the world is changing fast, especially now with AI, and we're creating technologies that think for themselves, you know. Like we don't know where it's gonna go, but I think at the heart of it, like with the way society's built, there's always going to be a need for people to feel beautiful. It's just the methods in which they get there is going to change and improve with technology. And so hopefully, like with Glamnetic, we're going to keep up with that and make sure we are at the forefront of that.
Yeah, no, 100%. You're always keeping up with the times. We did NFTs together.
Oh my God.
Wild times. Times. I'm trying to think. Did I miss anything?
Maybe we could talk a little bit more about the universe thing, because I think it's.
Yeah, because you mean the manifestation stuff?
Yeah, the manifestation stuff I feel like is really cool, because. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that the universe, and I've heard this from everyone.
Yeah,
right?
because it sounds very woo-woo.
It sounds very woo-woo.
It does.
But until you've like firsthand experienced the power of it, you're like, this is not woo-woo, this is real.
Do you feel like you manifested Matt?
I actually did.
Okay, well, I want to hear about that.
Did.
Tell me.
So there's, on YouTube, I get everything on YouTube. On YouTube, there's guided meditations on how to manifest whatever you want. Like literally there's like a million videos on like manifestation, meditation, like even before you fall asleep, that very specific time while you're falling asleep and before you fall asleep is like when your brain is most like attuned and vulnerable to messages. So that's when people go into a hypnotic state, they enter that state. They put you in that state.
Were you playing YouTube videos while you were sleeping?
While I was,
because I'm down to try that.
Yeah, while I was almost falling asleep, of just like, because I was stuck in this relationship that was just so painful and just toxic, and I just was like, I need to figure out a way out of this, and I was like, I need to use my mind. And so I was like, this sounds crazy, but I'm gonna do it. And so I started doing it. I only did it for like 5 nights, just like that hour before you fall asleep. It was just like imagining the person that I wanted in my life, and I would imagine like the traits of somebody like that, basically what Matt had.
What were the traits?
Just someone like that was always like happy, smiling, laughing, and like loving, affectionate, like devoted, artistic, but also hot. And
I love that. And also swaggy.
Yeah, and also swaggy and all those things, you know, obviously. And yeah, and it was crazy because it was like a month after that was when we took that trip. It was crazy because Nicole had always been saying, Nicole knew both of us, and she was like, wait, you should talk to Matt because he's actually like, you guys are very similar. You guys are like the male-female counterpart to each other. You should definitely, and I was like, I don't know. And then when I talked to him, I was like, wow, okay, I get where she's going with it. But I just I didn't see him more than just a friend initially. And then we went on this trip together, which was by accident. I'm an itinerary girl. I might not be the most organized person when it comes to just my stuff.
But you will set up a fire itinerary.
I am very much detail-oriented when it comes to itineraries in planning any experience, especially trips. And so I did a 5-page itinerary for Washington because my friend Jen was asking me to go to a Rufus Du Sol concert at the Gorge, and I was like, wait, I definitely need to go to that because I haven't been. And also, I love Rufus, and also I looked up on TikTok what like Washington looked like, and I was like, wow, there's so much nature, it's so beautiful. So I basically did this whole like itinerary where the first 3 days was hiking and seeing all the sites like Mount Rainier and all the areas around there, and then on Saturday was the Rufus concert, and then 2 days after that was like this little town called Leavenworth, which is like an old German town that was so freaking cute. And I had it all planned with details, dates, literally hour by hour breakdown what we're gonna do. I'm crazy. And then I sent it to Jen, and she was like, oh, I can't go anymore. And I was like, okay. And so Matt, I was already texting Matt, and I was like, I know this sounds a little crazy, but do you want to go on this trip with me? Because I really want to go. And then he said yes.
But you know what, though? What I like about this is that you were not afraid to take initiative in terms of that trip. Like, obviously, you know, he was very active and making sure you guys saw each other, and he really liked you. But that's something that, like, I grew up Persian, and I was always told, like, have the guy, you know, message you first and don't ever show interest and blah. It was like all this advice that I was getting that was like complete bullshit. And every girl I talk to that like really has the guy that she wants is like, oh yeah, like I just told him to come on a trip with me. I just told him to this. And I'm like, that's a pattern I've been noticing.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing I notice about other people too. I'm very much like I need to do whatever I feel, even if it's not necessarily meeting like my gender role. I don't care. Like I don't care.
Dude,
like, I will do it because I want to do it. And if he didn't want to come, I would have invited somebody else. You know, like I was just like, I'm gonna make this trip happen because I have a vision for how it's gonna feel when I'm on it, and I need to feel that. You know, like I'm very like much of a visionary when it comes to like not even just in product and brand, but also just in terms of my day-to-day. Like I'm like, I feel like I need to go this because it's gonna make me feel this way, and I want to feel this way, and so then I do the things necessary to do that, and it always happens. It always gets fulfilled.
True.
It always comes true. So that's why I'm like, I think I'm really good at setting up experiences, and that's why I started inviting like groups of friends onto trips, because I have specific things I want to do, and everyone always like pretty much enjoys it. Sometimes they think it's a little intense because I'm like 4 hikes in a day, and I'm like, but like I think most of the time they're like, wow, we got to see a lot in the small amount of time we were there. We were productive. Like I'm a very productive, not just in like work, but also in life. Like I want to experience more and feel more and do more and, you know, see more. I think, you know, because I didn't get to do that as a kid. I didn't get to do that until college, basically. So I'm like, I want to live life deeply.
Yeah. No, you are such an inspiration to me. I can't even tell you. Like everything that you're saying right now, I'm like, oh my God. Because I relate to a lot of stuff. Like, you know, obviously I grew up in a little bit better circumstances, but emotionally I did feel very not seen and not understood by my parents. Yeah. So that was like a sort of hell on earth on its own. Not because they weren't good parents. They tried to, but they just didn't get how my brain worked. Yeah. They didn't understand my generation. They didn't understand anything that I was into, or, you know, why I was sad. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like little things like that. And when I grew up, same thing, like, you know, I just felt like, okay, if I just like start throwing these events and like reaching out to these people that are like heroes of mine, or like, you know what I mean? Like when Naval spoke at my event, that was nuts to me. Yeah. You know what I mean? The first time, even the second time, or like getting Chris Voss as a mentor and all these people. And I'm like, whoa, like, how am I even doing this? But it's like, you know, in your head and intuitively what you want and what's going to feel good and who you want to be surrounded by. Yeah. Even when you were describing right now, like I was imagining a guy that was like smiling and happy all the time. It's so funny because I grew up around guys that thought they were gangsters, and that's who I would date in like high school. You know what I mean? And they always tried to like act really hard. You know what I'm talking about? Like those types of guys. I'm sure you've like, you know, encountered that. Like that. I don't like that at all. And like when you just said that.
Girls and boys, like I don't like that.
I don't like that. I don't like that. And when you just said that right now, I'm like, oh my God, I just realized that this year that it's so important for me to be around a guy who's happy and smiling, because it affects my mood. Yes. Like it affects my mood.
Yeah, of course.
Like my mood will, if you're there, then I'm gonna join you there. And I don't like that. And if you're not vibing, I'm not vibing.
Exactly. exactly, because it's contagious, and that's the thing. It's like it's basically a mark of a failing relationship is like stonewalling, and when males are kind of like that, more reserved and stuff, it's like easy for them to just like stonewall, and you feel like you did something wrong.
Oh,
it's like a form of gaslighting, but
yeah,
you feel
but
like you did something wrong when you didn't. Yeah.
Yes, but you know what I think is like a major contribution of that. Obviously you've seen like the Andrew Tate stuff, and there's a lot of advice on like, I guess it's like red pill Twitter. I don't even know what to call these areas of the internet, but and even like the advice we would consume in terms of like dating, a lot of it was based on gender roles, and while some of it is true, a lot of it is not. So the stonewalling thing, it's like I've read advice that is given to guys about dating, and some of it is like, if she's acting up, ignore her. Like literally it will say that. The guy will be like, she will not respect you unless you ignore her, leave. Yeah. And it's like, no, you're just creating a dynamic where the girl is dependent on you. Now you're creating an anxious attachment style where you have control, and it's a toxic dynamic.
And that relationship is bound to fail. It's like, if you want a faster failing relationship, keep doing that.
Yeah, keep doing that.
But you're not going to find like true love, connection, vulnerability. And that's where you find true happiness. And I think a lot of males, oh my God, did you know? Lucy showed me this because she messaged the founder of Seeking Arrangements. Or one of her employees didn't, and they wanted to do a partnership. And he was just like, I'm moving away from sugar babies, and I'm moving away from that. I want to like move Seeking into a new, I don't know, like
arena or something.
Yeah, I realized that, she said, I realized that I was really lost and broken in the past, and I was trying to fill it with multiple girls. And I thought that true love didn't exist. But then I met a girl, and she changed everything. And now I realize I was dumb and stupid back then, and that all these males on my platform are lost, and they just need to be found. They just need to find love, true love, so that they realize that that's where true happiness lies.
Okay.
It's
whoa.
Yeah.
First of all, I want that guy.
She said that. He said that email back to her.
Dude, I want that guy on this podcast. Second of all, who's also really good at talking about this? My friend Neil Strauss, you met him. He wrote the book The Game, teaching men how to neg women and stuff like that. And he got really good at it. And he got a lot of girls and a lot of guys.
Yep.
Learn to get women in that way. And I talked to him recently about it, and he said, by the way, he's not like that at all. Like, he's a really great guy.
He's so nice.
He does inner child work. He helps people connect with themselves. He is not that guy. But when he talks about that book, he told me, he's like, Nicole, that was really a book about insecurity, is what I would say.
100%.
And so I think it would be so interesting. 100%. I'm just going to manifest this right here. I would love to have Neil Strauss and the Seeking Arrangements guy sitting on the couch talking about that with me, because guess fucking what? Wow. That's the truth. Right?
Yeah, I feel it. It's already going to happen. I mean, why would they say no? Like, I think he wants to spread that message. That's why he wrote back in an email that message. And
I'm going to hit him up straight up. I'm going to.
Yeah, do it. That would be so crazy.
But see, that's like the whole point. Everything that I do, for example, I feel like my calling is to get people to learn things that are going to shift the trajectory of their lives. That's all I think about all the time, where I'm just, and you see it in like the way that I am. It's like, that's all I'm thinking about on all fronts. Like, forget just like entrepreneurship, your fucking soul, like everything that you do, that we're not taught in school, in our families, by institutions that we trust. Like, the fact that you just Googled what you needed to do, Ann.
Yeah, it's all a misconception.
Started your company.
Like, I realized that people build the jails like within their mind themselves. They're the ones that build these barriers and boundaries. Like, you're actually boundless. You could do anything you want if you want to do it.
Yes, or they accept the limitations other people set for them. And that could be their parents, that could be a religious organization, it could be anything that they feel a sense of belonging to, that they think they're going to be like X'd out of, or they're going to be like disowned by their parents or something. That's why like Gary Vee was so powerful for me, because when I saw his videos circulating when I was younger, I was just like, wait, so maybe my parents aren't right about everything? You know what I mean? It's like, it's such a powerful message. you know, and he does it in a way that's like entertaining and fun and like, I mean, I just think it's so great.
Yeah, think about it. Your parents are just normal humans like everyone else. Like, obviously you're raised by them, so like the values that they have are instilled within you, but you realize that like they might not know everything, and you need to know that, right? And so I don't think that you should hold what they think and say as Bible. Like, you should definitely just believe whatever you want to believe. And that's why I think it's so important for someone to be intellectually curious. I am so curious and ask a million questions. Matt's always like, why do you always, like, even when I'm ordering something on the menu, I always have to ask 5 questions.
Are there seed oils in this?
No, I'm always like, I always want to know what other people's opinions are of the food there. And I'm always like, oh, so what's your favorite thing on the menu? What's the most popular? What, like, I need to know 100%. All these things. And he's like, why can't you just order what you want? I'm like, well, I don't know, because I don't know how things are made here. So it's like always having a beginner's mind with everything. I feel like a lot of people have a lot of ego, and they're just like, oh, I know everything. I don't need to ask questions. I don't need to. No, like, that's how you like become more dumb.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, like you need, and that's how you break the barriers of your own mind, is like asking questions with people that, even people that you think might know like less than you, they actually know more because they've lived a different life experience than you.
There's a quote, I'm paraphrasing, but it's like, every man is my superior in some way. Meaning, like, everyone knows something that you don't know. That. You know what I mean? Like, they've had experiences you haven't had, and they could tell you something that's
100%.
And so I love that. But on the subject of parents, I was watching a TikTok the other day. You know the ones that, like, now you can just, like, scroll through photos and it has, like, dramatic music playing? Yeah. Have you seen those?
Yeah.
There was one that was like, we don't realize that we're also watching our parents grow up. And I was just like, oh my God.
Wow.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, dude, think about it. Your parents are kids in a way. It's like, even us, let's say we had a kid right now. We've never had one before. I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know. How would 100%. They know? You know? And it's like this whole cycle and that parents go through, and a lot of kids have a lot of resentment towards their parents, but when you think about it like that, it's easier to forgive, I feel like.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. They that's why I said like they literally don't know more than you necessarily, or know less than anyone. It's like both, as a duality for it. Like, there's certain things that they're really, really good at, and they've learned through them bringing you up, but again, they're not perfect, and that's why I think you have to set your own path. Like, don't look at what everyone else is doing. Like, no one was making like magnetic liner and lashes when I was starting the brand. I was just like, I felt like this was right. Like, you have to listen to your gut truly. I think people are afraid to like follow their own path and their own gut, because it's like, oh, this might happen. I hear so many excuses when a girl comes up to me and she's like, I need advice. And then I say like all these things that they should do, and then they just come up with excuses on why they can't do it. I'm like, that's all in your head, you realize. Like, you need to work on that first. I think meditate every day and get connected to that source energy. And that's when you realize, like, you are gonna, I mean, I don't even know I can say this, but I do shrooms. Like, I have taken shrooms.
Why not? By the way, shrooms are about to be legal. I feel like we're moving towards legalization of shrooms.
There's definitely been a bad rep for it, obviously, because it's not legal, but I think alcohol is way worse. Like, alcohol's way worse. Family, you know?
Yeah.
Way worse. It's killed my dad. Like, he died of alcoholism because he was drinking. He drank himself to death, literally. Oh my God. So I know for sure it's so way worse. It's worse for your liver. You can't do it every day, whatever. But yeah, mushrooms, it's healing. And I think it allows you to, for the first time, tap into this source energy that everyone's talking about. You realize like the connectedness of all things, and it removes your ego from everything that you do. And I think it's a powerful drug that heals. And I think it's so important for humanity and everyone to take it, because it does make you feel more love and connection towards other people in a way that you've never felt before. And that manifestation thing of tapping into this universe, like this energy, comes through when you take shrooms. Like, you can feel it.
Some people do get it from meditating for like long periods of time. I've heard too.
But people don't have time for that. If you want to get there faster, you could totally do it. Like I think like that's what I began to understand, like what Buddhist monks meditate for hours to achieve, and for days, whatever, to achieve this enlightenment. But you can literally get it through. I mean, obviously it's labeled as a recreational drug, but it's really not. It's actually medicine for the soul.
Yeah.
And obviously there's like higher forms of it, like ayahuasca, which like I've heard some insane stories.
I'm scared to do ayahuasca.
I actually want to do it sometime this year, but
I mean, a lot of people. There's a lot of people that do it. A lot of highly intelligent and like I mean, it's a thing. It's definitely. I have nothing against it.
What it does is it removes your soul from your body, and when I say that. If you think about it, I mean, I was brought up Buddhist, and we really believed in reincarnation and the cycle of life and karma. And, your soul, after you die, your soul leaves your body and it gets reincarnated into another thing, another living thing. Based on your how you conducted yourself in this life, if you were a bad person, you get put into, like, an ant or, like, something that lives a life of suffering until you resolve that in the next life. And so, like, if you're a really good person, you can be born, like, into, like, a higher status, whatever, like, better life and have a bit more opportunities in your life. I think I had really good karma in my past life because I do have a lot of luck in this life. But I really, truly believe that, and I saw that. I saw that everyone was a ball of energy, and we are all light, and that everyone comes from the same source of energy, and we're just all individual souls, but we all are actually from the same substance. And so in that way, that's how everyone's connected. And in that way, you can literally manifest anything because we're all one. Why couldn't you just like flex a hand and then you get it, right? It's
I love that mentality.
You have control over different parts of yourself, which is actually the bigger part of the whole. And that's when I realized you can instantaneously get what you want because it's almost like just flexing a hand. Okay, I want this. Okay, I'm flexing the hand, and I get it. So that was the way that I saw it, and it was like so clear in my mind. And yeah, I think people need to tap into that more if they really want to go further in life.
I feel like the second America, collectively realized they had an obesity epidemic, they manifested Ozempic. So, it works, guys. I mean,
no, actually,
I'm totally kidding.
I heard that it makes you. I mean, obviously, like anything with crazy crazy results like that, there's gonna be major side effects, and one of them is like it makes your bones brittle.
Oh yeah.
So when
and it reduces muscle mass. I am not endorsing the use.
So it's like when you're like 50, you're gonna fall, and you're actually gonna, I don't know, God forbid, like.
Yeah, and no amount of like calcium can help you there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's a whole other issue. Okay, last question. I ask everybody on the podcast this question. So it's basically I realized that like everyone has so many messages they want to share, but it's hard to determine which one is the most important to them. And which one they feel like most urgently needs to be shared. So I came up with this scenario. You're at the Oscars and you're nominated for, in your case, let's say a documentary about beauty.
Okay.
And they call out the nominees, and then time to announce the winner. They announce the winner, and it's you. And you walk up to the stage. You thank everybody that you need to thank. Matt, your mom, all your friends, the ayahuasca you just took, everything, everyone. And then there's that 45-second to 1 minute window where you can say whatever you want. There's going to be headlines. It's going to go viral, TikTok, Reels. What's your one message to the world? What message do you feel like most urgently needs to be shared in that time span?
I think the thing that comes to mind is, first of all, money, fame, success. This all doesn't matter. This is all a facade and a human construct that we've all created. I know you think that I'm amazing for accomplishing this, but in reality, I think true success is you connecting deeply with yourself and with one another, with your loved ones. because all that matters at the end of the day when you die is love.
Yeah, just to be clear, I don't think you're amazing for accomplishing that. I think you're amazing for accomplishing that, but being humble and kind and adventurous and all those things, because I've met tons of successful people who are not those things, and I just wouldn't want them sitting across from me.
Yeah, so sad.
I know.
Because it's like I want to get to know them more, and then when I do like get to know them, a lot of times it's like it's like all ego.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
but you know what? I feel like life eventually humbles those people.
Yeah.
Whether it happens now or later, there's gonna be a moment where they realize the money isn't what made them happy.
Yeah, they need to go through it. Everyone needs to go through their life journey.
Yeah.
I realize that everyone is at a different point in their life journey, and even if you think you're so far, there's so many other people that know more than you, and so that's why it's so important to like connect with others. This weekend, I'm actually going to a retreat. It's called The Yearn. My friend Justin Choi put it on, and it's like a bunch of Burning Man people, but also everyone is like sort of like spiritually studied and has put in a lot of work on themselves.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited because it's like everyone is actually pretty successful, but they don't talk about the work. They don't talk about what they do for a living. They talk about, you know, what they've done to get to the point that they're at mentally. And so I'm really excited to learn from these people and see, you know, what we get from it, because I think I have a lot to learn. I feel like you've experienced spiritual awakening, but you're like at the beginning stage of it. You need to like figure out how to, you know, learn and get further along that path. The worst thing though is when people are like toxic about their spirituality and they think that they're better than other people because
don't get me started. Do not get me started on that.
As long as that doesn't happen, then it's great. It's more like I just want other people to feel like what I felt and experience it, because I think it's beautiful, and I think the door is open, wide open for you.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And thanks for coming on. I love you. You're amazing.
I love you too.
And
thanks for having me.